So at this point, you should be at least 8 weeks out from surgery, and your focus now shifts from transitioning through the liquid, puree, and soft food phase onto a high protein, low carb diet. And this is where we'll focus today. And this will really be the diet that you will continue to follow until you're about 6 months out from surgery, at which point your surgeon will review with you your progress and you will collaboratively make a decision whether or not you're at your weight loss goal and whether or not we'll continue to keep you on this diet or if we will transition you to the next phase. So in terms of review of healthy habits, the first 3 months is really a time for healing after surgery. This allows your new stomach time to adjust to digesting foods again and establishing a new way of eating and drinking, developing your routine and your habits, finding out what foods you tolerate, what things you may not tolerate as well, and even what food preferences you have. From 3 to 6 months after surgery, we will work to reinforce healthy habits that you need to lose the weight and also focusing on those behaviors that you'll need to continue to support in order to keep the weight off. Your best opportunity to lose the most weight based on data is between 3 to 9 months. And so use this time to really find out what meal structure works for you. What times do your meals and snacks tend to work best? What types of foods do you tend to digest the best? What foods are things that you can carry with you to work? Any of those strategies that will help to build a good foundation going forward. And remember that your obesity treatment, which is a combination of a healthy diet, physical activity, and surgery as a tool, is a lifelong process. So what you implement today may have to be continually adjusted based on how you're feeling, where you are with your weight loss goals, what your physical activity level is. And so focus on habits that you can build and things that you can do and maintain that will really help you to achieve long-term success. When to eat. In order to fit in all your protein and fluids, as you know, this can be challenging immediately following surgery. It takes a lot of planning in order to determine what your meal times and snack times may be, when to stop drinking 30 minutes prior to your meal in order to allow space for food that you intend to eat at mealtime, and then waiting an additional 30 to 60 minutes after you've eaten, again, to giving your body time to digest that food prior to starting back drinking. This can pose a bit of a challenge for folks in terms of scheduling, particularly if you have a busy work day. Fitting in 3 meals a day can be tough, and then trying to hit these goals, eating more often can be more challenging. So I would really encourage you to sit down and plot out your day on paper and really then set target meal and snack times. Set alarms on your phone or in your Outlook calendar that will prompt you for when you're going to stop drinking, when you'll eat, when you'll start back drinking. Those prompts and reminders can really help you to establish a good pattern. And again, you could use some of the different apps like Berrytastic app, which allows you to set reminders as well. So how often you eat right after surgery really will be different for everyone and depends on how much you can eat at one sitting. For most patients, you will feel full somewhere between 1 to 3 ounces of meat, and that will then dictate how often you need to eat in order to get in your 80 to 100 grams of protein and your 80 to 100 ounces of fluid every day. In this example below, you can see this is 3 meals and 3 snacks for a total of 90 grams of protein. So if you can aim to get in about 2 ounces of protein at each meal, and then 2 ounces of protein at each snack, and just as a reminder, each ounce of protein has 7 grams. So if you're eating 2 ounces, it's about 14 to 15 grams per serving. If you can eat on this frequency, smaller portions, you will reach your protein goal. Actually, you'll exceed your protein goal and land right in the middle of your target at 90 grams of protein for the day. So you may have to start off eating smaller frequent meals in this fashion. Here's an example in a picture. I'm showing you a standard business card. And below the business card, you can see a small serving of fish or salmon. The fish or salmon is about half the depth of the business card and the same length of a business card. This is about a 2-ounce serving of protein. And then just below the protein source or salmon, you can see 1/4 of a cup of vegetable, in this case green beans. This would be representative of a typical meal for folks who are about 8 weeks out from surgery. So just to give you an idea, this is 2 ounces of protein and 1/4 a cup of vegetable. If you're able, right after surgery, as you transition to soft and solid foods, some folks are able to eat closer to 2 to 3 ounces of protein at a meal. You will notice as you get further out from surgery that you can gradually eat larger portions. In one respect, this is actually helpful because it makes meeting your goals every day a little bit easier. And on the other hand, it can be a bit of a challenge because as you get further out from surgery, you are able to easily eat more, and it may stall your weight gain, or as you may find that you are eating larger portions and more calories, that you could potentially even gain weight. So weighing and measuring your portions absolutely is something that we would recommend, just to help ensure that you're on track and you're not over or under eating. So buy a food scale. You can find those in most grocery stores, drug stores, big box stores like Walmart carry them for, $10, $15, probably less. So highly recommend getting a scale to measure out your portion sizes. Again, if you're fortunate, the ideal scenario is to work towards 3 structured meals a day. And if you go longer than 4 hours, then break up that span of time by eating 1 or 2 snacks, depending on how your day plays out. So below is an example of breakfast, lunch, and dinner with 1 snack built in. So if you can eat 3 ounces of protein, which is the size of a business card, like we showed in the prior example, that contains about 21 grams of protein. So if you can eat 3 ounces at each meal, so 3 ounces 3 times a day and at 1 snack, then you would be able to reach 84 grams of protein for the day, and that's all from solid food that doesn't necessarily include a protein shake. This would be, again, kind of more of an ideal scenario that you're working towards, particularly as you get 12 weeks and beyond post-operatively. You really want to be careful that you do not fall into a grazing pattern and a snacking pattern all day. The more you deviate from standard structured meals, the more likely you are to gain weight as time passes and you get further out from surgery. As I mentioned in the previous slide, here is a picture and an example of 3 ounces of protein. In this case, 3 ounces of lean chicken breast. It is about the length and width of a standard business card. So if you have a business card at home, you can use that just as a visual cue or example. And again, paired with 1/4 of a cup of carrots or another vegetable of your choosing, as long as it's non-starchy. Again, this would be pretty representative of a typical meal and portion sizes that folks can eat after weight loss surgery. Your portion size for vegetables may get a little bit larger, up to 1/2 a cup, as you get further out from surgery. But again, this is something that you'll be working towards over the 3 to 6 months right after surgery. Often I get asked about daily goals and where should I be at this stage, and it's a little confusing because it's a pretty individualized journey. Not every patient has the same experience or tolerance to foods, and you may be at different levels of calorie intake, And so I'd just like to take a couple minutes to review. So a daily goal that would be a great target to shoot for is about 800 to 1,000 calories. And we recognize that you may not be at that point yet, and that's fine. But it is a goal that we encourage folks to try and reach for from about the time that they are 12 weeks or 3 months out from surgery. And even more so important is really developing some consistency. So you may not be eating 800 calories a day, but if you're at 500 calories one day, 800 calories the next day, back down to 400 the day after that, it's really difficult for your body to develop and have a sense of idea of what's the new normal. And it's really difficult for your body to be able to get all of the calories, the fuel, the nutrition that you need in order to heal and move forward. So ideally, we want you focusing on or trying to reach 800 to 1,000 calories a day. If you're not able to achieve that, then really work to gradually focus on consistency and getting in 500 to 600 calories a day for a few weeks, and then bump it up to 600 to 700 calories for a few weeks, and baby step your way to that caloric goal. Hopefully you are continuing to meet your protein goal. That hasn't changed. It will remain the same throughout your first year, and that's 80 to 100 grams of protein. And we will continue to advise that you eat your protein first. And at this point, start to try and supplement or cut back on your supplements to one a day or less, and start to replace the liquid protein drinks with solid food. This will really help in terms of nutritional quality, and it will also help in terms of fullness and satiety. You may not have an appetite now, but for most folks, your appetite will return, and those liquid protein shakes you will find just do not keep you as full for as long. And again, with fluid intake, 80 to 100 ounces of fluid, preferably at least half of that from water, ideally more, and avoiding any sugar-containing beverages or any carbonated beverages. No eating or drinking together at the same time. This pushes the food through more quickly. It allows you to eat more food at one sitting, and over time, again, it will likely lead to weight regain. And really of high importance is continuing to take your multivitamin every day. A lot of times patients will assume that because they're back eating solid food that they don't need to continue to take the supplements, and you do gradually run the risk of developing vitamin mineral deficiencies over time. And so continuing to take your multivitamin every day for life is not only what we recommend, but also based on the national standards. This slide is just a quick snapshot of calories, and so as I mentioned, your initial goal will be trying to work up to 800 to 1,000 calories a day. So if you look at the slide on the left-hand side with your focus of 80 to 100 grams of protein, then incorporating in 2 servings of fruit every day, 2 servings of low-fat dairy every day, at least 2 vegetable servings every day, and 3 additional servings of fat. If you follow these guidelines, your caloric goal for the day will end up somewhere between 800 and 1,000 calories. In order to then continue to increase your calories as you get further out from surgery, your subsequent goal would be 12 to 1,400 calories. So on the right-hand side of my slide, again, keeping your protein at 100 grams a day, and now incorporating up to 3 fruit servings, 3 dairy servings, 3 vegetable servings, 3 fat servings, and if you choose to do so, at this point adding in 2 servings of high fiber starchy foods. So high quality, high fiber, could be something like quinoa. It could be steel-cut oatmeal or a sweet potato. Again, measured portions, but if you're falling within these recommended ranges, your calories for the day should fall somewhere between about 1,200. So in terms of foods to avoid, a lot of this is going to be based on personal preference as well as tolerance. There are certain foods that tend to be notoriously more difficult for patients after surgery, things like tough, stringy, overcooked, dry meat. So if you prepare grilled chicken on the first night, and you may be able to digest that relatively easily, grilling dries out your protein source. So if you have any leftovers and you heat those in the microwave the second day, the more dry that chicken or other type of meat becomes, oftentimes the harder it is to digest. And that's because you just don't have as much stomach juices and digestive juices to be able to break down that protein as well. So we would advise adding some sort of moisture to your food, especially if you're going to reheat it. Adding a healthy low-fat sauce of some kind. It could be low-sugar barbecue sauce, or it could be just heating with chicken broth. The more you can prepare your meats that preserve moisture, so cooking in a pressure cooker or crock pot versus baking or grilling your meats, that can really make a big difference. Obviously, we want you to avoid any type of refined white carbohydrates, any type of sweets that are high in sugar, any fried foods or foods that are high in fats. All of these are likely to give you some difficulty with digestion, could end up with dumping syndrome. Sometimes patients end up with hot flashes. They can become lightheaded or dizzy. I've had patients that have passed out from eating high-fat, high-sugared foods. So be really careful. Do your due diligence. Check your labels. If you happen to be, at a friend or neighbor's house, or you're eating away from home, again, inquire as to what's in those particular foods to avoid inadvertently eating something that you shouldn't have or may not tolerate. Certainly, we would like you to limit or avoid most packaged foods and try and focus on eating more whole foods, again, carrying things with you so that you're prepared. Processed meats, notoriously high in fat and sodium, not as good a quality of meat, so bacon, sausage, hot dogs. And then again, weaning off your protein shakes and working towards getting majority, if not all, of your protein from whole food. A few pictures of some meal ideas on the left. It's spiralized zucchini with a little bit of ricotta on top, and looks like a little bit of basil there for a kind of some flavoring. And on the right-hand side, spaghetti squash. So rather than eating traditional pasta, you can cook spaghetti squash really easily baked in your oven or in your microwave in a matter of minutes, and just top that off with some tomato sauce. And I would recommend even throwing in some meat to make sure you're getting in your protein, whether you do ground meat in your sauce or you do meatballs. Spaghetti squash is just a very simple, quick, nutritious meal that a lot of patients enjoy after surgery. I like to give folks some ideas of meals because for whatever reason it can be really challenging as you go back to eating, knowing what should I even begin with. So for breakfast meal ideas, here's a few things that tend to work well for folks. It may be cottage cheese or yogurt where you're adding some fresh fruit on top. So add some strawberries, blueberries, blackberries with your cottage cheese and your yogurt. You could do eggs and veggie and scramble those together. You could make what I call egg bites, which are eggs and veggies, some low-fat cheese. You might even mince up some turkey bacon or ham or healthy low-fat chicken sausage. And you can bake that in muffin tins. They come out perfectly portioned. You can refrigerate or then freeze those. So you've got a meal prepped breakfast for the week. You can eat veggie loaded breakfast casseroles where you can make it in a whole casserole dish and then portion out those servings into smaller servings, again, that you pack and carry with you. And I always recommend starting with vegetables for breakfast. It's hard to get all your veggies in, so if you can dice up spinach and mushrooms and onions and peppers, what other types of vegetables you like, it's great to add some you know, nutritional quality, vitamins, minerals, fiber, and start getting those in early at breakfast time. You can roll up ham and egg and cheese. You can even put those stuffed with spinach or tomato and make some really quick, easy breakfast ideas. For lunch ideas, lunch meat can be a healthy option or it can be a not so healthy option. So do recommend trying to seek out good quality lunch meat such as boar's head, which you can get the low sodium. They provide all of the nutritional information, so you can look at that ahead of time. You can get lean turkey, lean ham, nitrate-free, wrap that around a piece of string cheese, dip it in some spicy mustard or gourmet mustard if you like that. Can make a really quick, easy meal or snack. In the wintertime, making some hearty soups, and if you have a pressure cooker, this is a great way to prep meals in advance. You can, again, load it with lots of vegetables that you like. And again, you want to make sure not to forget the protein in any of your soups or stews that you make. Make a small green salad topped with shredded chicken. You could add shrimp or another source of protein. The tuna packs work really well to carry with you if you happen to be packing your lunch or you're going to be away from home. If you're eating out, I have patients who will go to restaurants and who will order a small salad or get a salad off the salad bar, and they bring their own tuna and just throw tuna on there, or hard-boiled egg to get in your protein. Certainly planning leftovers from dinner, packing those the night before to carry with you for lunch the next day is a super easy strategy, focusing again on lean meats and vegetables. You can make mini meatloaves, slice those up and freeze them in single servings, or you can again put the meat into a muffin tin, and those muffin-sized meatloaf pop out perfectly and can be frozen or reheated easily for lunch. Garlic Parmesan skinless chicken, just seasoning your chicken with some dry rub seasonings, adding a little bit of Parmesan. You can make a stir fry and put it over cauliflower rice instead of regular rice. Lots of recipes that you can find online, apps and different resources. So if you're struggling with recipe ideas, certainly reach out to the program and let us know. I'm not going to go through all of these, but again, lots of great simple meal ideas for dinner, and focusing with some sort of lean protein and vegetable base for your meals. And you can add or delete any of the ingredients or the vegetables or things that don't appeal to you. The one thing I would say is that since your taste preference changes so dramatically after surgery for most patients, don't be opposed, or keep an open mind about trying foods as if you've never tried them before, because oftentimes what you liked prior to surgery are no longer your favorites, and what you didn't like prior to surgery may very well become your new favorite. So really challenge yourself to be open-minded and try some different things that you may have not tried in the past or you may have not liked in the past. Certainly, we would discourage you from reaching out to some of your old go-to favorites if you're a sweet eater in terms of dessert. Not only do you run the risk of filling up on empty calories that provide no nutritional value, but you also, and the risk of having dumping syndrome if it's something that's too high in sugar or fat. But you want to seek out new, healthier favorites. So wanted to provide you with some ideas for desserts. If you have a sweet craving that just is not satisfied by a protein shake or a serving of fruit, there are other kind of healthier recipe versions out there. And some of these are included in the cookbook we've provided you. Things like high protein pudding. You can mix non-fat plain Greek yogurt. You could mix in chocolate protein powder, some stevia. You can mix a little bit of Fairlife milk with that if you want, and make a high protein pudding. If you want the consistency of ice cream because you're an ice cream fan, then you can consider just freezing your yogurt or freezing your protein pudding. Let it get a little thicker and it comes out more like soft ice cream. Ricotta cheese is very popular. You can add a healthy sweetener like stevia and fruit and freeze those together, or in the fall mix it with canned pumpkin or some cocoa powder to make chocolate mousse. Apple slices that you can bake in the oven, you can dip those in PB2 peanut butter, or you could actually just slice up your apple, and they make a chocolate PB2 peanut butter as well as the regular peanut butter. So just to give you a few ideas of some kind of healthy dessert treats that still support your goals. In terms of variety, you can see there's lots of options. And for protein, you can make ground chicken or ground turkey or lean ground beef meatballs. You can actually cook those in your oven on a big sheet pan or in your crock pot. Making mini crab cakes, you can freeze those. Pieces of salmon or fish, and you can buy those now frozen in single serving packs, which is ideal. Shrimp is so easy. You can cook your own. You can buy it already cooked and peeled. Those make a fantastic lean, high protein snack with some cocktail sauce, or you can grill them on the grill, or even chicken here with some tomato sauce and cheese on top, almost like chicken parmesan, but without the breading. So lots of variety. Don't feel like you have to be stuck eating the same food in and days out. Again, if you need some recommendations for recipes or websites, we certainly are able to help you, and go back to the cookbooks that we provided you for meal ideas. Reach out to patients on our Facebook page. They always have fantastic, simple recommendations that you may want to try. Portions certainly are important. They're important in the beginning to be able to know how to calculate your nutritional goals, to see whether or not you're achieving all of the protein that you need in a day. As you get further out from surgery, your portion sizes you may find migrate to being larger sizes as you're able to eat more. And so we do recommend that you weigh and measure your portions and your protein on a kitchen scale so that you know exactly what you're getting from meal to meal. Or if you're meal prepping in advance, you can actually plot and plan out meals that you can put in your refrigerator or your freezer and know that they are meeting your goals. Using a scale and keeping food records are also critical tools for your success, both in the short term and the long term. And so we do advise that you continue to journal, and you can journal every day. You can journal a couple days a week. You can spot check and journal once a week. And certainly know that if you're struggling at any point in time with a weight plateau or even weight gain, one of the first things the surgeon is going to recommend is you go back to tracking what you're eating. Whether you record by hand, whether you record with an app, it does not matter what your preference is. Keep it simple. Make sure it's good data that you can look at, review, and use. And certainly know that we are here to help you if you would like us to peek at your food journal and give you recommendations as well. Put away all your extra food before eating. That way you're not tempted by family style meals on the table. Portion those things out with what you need for that particular meal. And then again, you can pack away those extra servings for lunch or dinner at a subsequent meal. Certainly you don't need a 9-inch dinner plate when you're eating after bariatric surgery. Some patients will eat off a small saucer or kids-sized dishes. That can be very helpful. If you're a fast eater, I always recommend using child-sized utensils or smaller utensils, so that even if you eat quickly, your bite size is much, much smaller. And using a smaller plate will also make your portions look bigger and can slow down your pace of eating. So don't forget to pay attention to portion size. I like to review the hunger and fullness scale, and prior to surgery, it's not often that we sit back and ask ourselves, gosh, how hungry am I on a scale of from 1 to 10? Or how full am I on a scale of from 1 to 10? But it is certainly a skill that can be helpful after surgery, and something that we would recommend that you utilize as you need to. At first, it might be difficult to determine what your hunger cues are because they're so different from prior to surgery. But learning your hunger cues after surgery really also helps to guide you to know when to stop and when you're full. And going slowly, slowing down your pace of eating, being more mindful, and when you start to have that first thought of I think I'm getting full, that's your cue to stop. Before a meal or snack, check with your body to determine your hunger level so that you can assess, do I need a full meal? Do I just need a snack? And what would be the best option? If you're super hungry, you may want to certainly focus on eating your protein first, as that's going to give you more satiety. Close your eyes, place your hand over your stomach, take a few deep breaths to kind of focus in on how you're physically feeling. Listen to the cues your body's giving you. And physical hunger is very different than head hunger, and it takes some practice sometimes to figure out the difference between the two. So certainly how hungry and full you are, how you're feeling at meals would be something that we would recommend that you journal in your food journal, so that you start to draw correlations between the symptoms of when you're physically hungry and the symptoms of when you're feeling emotionally hungry. Here's an example of a hunger and fullness scale, with 1 being starving, completely empty, feeling physically weak and dizzy. And then you can work your way through the scale. At 5, you're satisfied, you're not hungry, but you're not feeling full or overfull. At 8, you're feeling stuffed, and at 10, you're feeling so sick that you actually have symptoms of nausea or really uncomfortable illness. And so this is something that I do recommend folks print out and have available, that you can refer back to it as an easy tool, whether you take a picture and keep it on your phone to pull up when you need to, or you print it out and leave it on the table. But it is a great reference tool so that as you start eating and you get further out from surgery, you may get your appetite back. You can really pay attention and be more mindful of how you're feeling and how much you're eating. So a few hints when you're assessing your hunger level, and this certainly applies much more so as you get further out from surgery. I'm thinking even 6 months to a year out from surgery, probably not as prevalent when you're in the early months. If you find you're getting hungry quickly after a meal, one of the things I certainly would recommend is to assess, did you eat enough protein and what form was it in? Again, more solid protein from a piece of lean beef or chicken or turkey is going to keep you more full. It takes your body more time to digest that form of protein than something that is liquid form or even really soft and squishy. Protein shake or yogurt, I always say, kind of slides on through and doesn't leave you with satiety for very long. Did you eat enough protein at your meal? Was your serving size big enough? So did you eat only 1.5 ounces at a meal, or did you actually eat more like 3 to 4 ounces at a meal? Certainly, if you cut yourself short of your protein source so that you could fit in more fruit or vegetable, then you may find that that particular meal does not hold you over as long and your appetite does return. Did you eat a meal that contained more carbohydrate foods, particularly the higher processed packaged foods that are lower in quality and lower in fiber? Make sure you're aiming for foods that are high fiber, 2, 3, 4 grams of fiber per serving, so that also can help with fullness. If you've gone too long between meals, you may need to refuel your body. So again, if you have breakfast at 7 a.m. and you're not eating lunch until 2, your appetite, your body, your brain is going to tell you that you need more fuel and that you need to eat. And so that will oftentimes trigger your appetite. And it may be a signal that you need to build in a snack if it's something that you notice happening on a regular basis. Did you find that you are more hungry after you've exercised? You've gone to the gym or you've been outside exercising at home on the treadmill, you're burning more calories and your body's trying to replenish what it just burned off during your physical activity so it can prepare and store for the next bout of exercise. So did you find your hunger was triggered due to an exercise event? And then, of course, are you feeling fatigued, stressed, lonely, tired, bored? And is it more tied to an emotional event and less tied to a physiologic need? So eating mindfully is really a way of approaching how you eat and thinking about what you eat. So as you're eating, we talk about turning off the television, not eating in the car, and that's to avoid distraction, which allows you then to help focus on why you're eating, what you're eating, how much you're eating, and it improves hopefully your awareness so that you have more conscious choice in the decisions that you're making. Many habits that drive our food choices and overeating are behaviors that we've repeated for years and oftentimes don't have anything to do with true needs that our body have. And it's driven by more of an emotional need. Eating slowly, being more mindful is an important step to learn after surgery and practice after surgery so that you can identify some of those behaviors that may have led you to overeating if that was something that you struggled with. Emotional eating is very common for anyone who is trying to lose weight or has had weight loss surgery. And head hunger is often more of a problem for post-surgical weight loss patients than physical hunger. So learning to decipher the difference between the two. And emotional eating or head hunger are basically false alarm signals that are often confused with true hunger. It may be a feeling of loss without food while you're on the liquid diet phase. It could be triggered by a variety of emotions. You may be feeling tired, bored, stressed, lonely, or upset. It could be triggered by the environment. You're watching cooking shows and food commercials on TV. It could be triggered by the time of day that it's always been your routine to eat lunch at noon. Or even a social event. You have food at work or food at a church event or birthdays, holidays. All of these events in some way, shape, or form are tied to emotional eating. So learning to identify when you're feeling this way, really trying to determine when you're preparing to eat and you feel like it would not be a normal structured mealtime. We would ask yourself, what besides food do I really want or need right now? If you take some time to listen to your body and for your answer, you may realize that you're really not desiring food, but you're looking for some form of comfort. So explore this and just know that if you need more support, more guidance, or more help, you can reach out to our office and certainly our behavioral coach for support. So in addition to beginning to practice what you'll be eating and developing those good habits with meal schedule and food choices, ensuring that you're getting in whole foods, more lean protein, adding in more fruits and vegetables, drinking an appropriate amount of water, the other component to success after surgery, in addition to healthy eating is exercise. And what we would recommend is exercising for at least 30 to 45 minutes, 5 to 7 days a week, and working your way up to a total of at least 150 minutes, ideally more like 300 minutes of exercise per week. And this is based on the research of patients who have been successful at losing weight and then keeping the weight off. Those individuals nationally are able to or are successfully exercising 30 to 45 minutes, 5 to 7 days, 150 to 300 minutes. Adding in strength training certainly helps to preserve and build muscle mass. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn. Your clothes you may find fit better. You have more muscle strength to perform the activities that you need to do for daily living, but then also to become even more independent and branch out in your day-to-day duties as well as recreation. So adding in some strength training and then stretching certainly helps to keep you limber, and more importantly, as you get older, it helps to prevent injuries. So when you're thinking about exercising, really focus on how often you're getting out there, not only minutes but days of the week, incorporating some strength training and some stretching. Hope you find this information helpful. Again, you've received a lot of this information in writing, along with your cookbooks and the resources through our Facebook page and support group sessions. Please feel free to reach out to any of the team members as you go along. We're certainly here to help and support you, whether it be with more information and resources, or you feel like you need follow-up in the office for individual or group appointments. You can call our office at any point in time and just know we're here to help you.